Welcome everyone to today's Catalyit Live hot topic, the top 3 challenges in agent commissions and how to fix them. We're excited to have you all here. I'm Scott Wingo, Catalyit's webinar producer, and I'll be your host for today's session. Today, we're joined by the team at Core Commissions for a practical and timely discussion around one of the most sensitive and most important operational areas inside any insurance agency commissions. All right. We are joined by 3 leaders from Core Commissions. Kurt Phillips, principal and founder of Core Commissions. Kurt has over 25 years of experience in commission management and business intelligence software development. Under his leadership, Core has grown from a small custom development shop into an industry leader in incentive compensation management. We're also joined by Chris Kingsbury, account executive at Core Commissions. Chris works directly with insurance agency clients to design and implement fully automated commission plans. Having supported numerous agencies over the years, he understands just how challenging commission management can be and takes pride in making the experiences as smooth as possible. And last but not least, Austin Gallagly, Director of Implementation at Core Commissions. Austin oversees and optimizes system implementation processes from start to finish and specializes in designing and customizing rules support even the most complex commission plans, ensuring every build is accurate, thorough, and tailored to each agency's needs. We're grateful to have all 3 of you here with us today. And before we do get started, just a few quick notes for our participants. Please enter your questions into the Q&A section at any time. We'll pause at key moments to address them and also save time at the end for additional Q&A. Feel free to use the chat for comments or any technical issues. I'll also be monitoring that throughout the session as well. And today's session is being recorded and the replay will be available within 24 hours inside Catalyit's on-demand video vault at catalyit.com. So you'll be able to rewatch it, share it with your team. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So Kurt, I'm going to turn it over to you and I'm going to get rid of my screen share here and I'll let you kick things off.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for that, Scott, and welcome everybody. Core Commissions we were founded in 2005, so we're on our 20-year anniversary of automating commission management for insurance agents. And we're excited for the opportunity to share some of the things we've learned across that period of time about how to solve some of the more frustrating challenges of paying your agents correctly. To recap the focus of our talk here, first we're going to take a look at where the data comes from, carrier statements. And of course, as you all know, it comes in a variety of formats and arrangements, labeling and what have you, and how to get that in a consistent format across all of your carrier statements with the field names matching all of your records. So that's the first thing we'll cover. And then we're going to show you how to build an account assignment table, which is going to contain the information about what agents get paid for each policy and what the rates are. And then how we connect those 2 sources of data together. And then lastly, we're going to talk about how we can take that information, produce the calculations you need, but just as important, display those on reports and dashboards in just a couple of button clicks and distribute them to your agent base. So that's the agenda. Chris, you want to go into the first part of this?
Yeah, definitely. Let me go ahead and share my screen here so we can walk through some aspects about carrier statements and what they look like. When it comes to paying agent commissions, everything starts with policy activity, right? And all that information comes from the carrier statements. The issue with that is a lot of these carrier statements tend to vary. And as I'm sure a lot of people have experienced when it comes to those statements, no 2 carriers are the same, and they all like to use different verbiage. They like to have their own field names within their own systems, which makes managing and consolidating them a bit of a pain when it comes to that. The first example I can show here is what not most, but some of the carrier statements come as in a CSV or Excel format. When they come in a format like this, we're great, right? There's no additional setup we need to do. It's pretty easy to organize a statement like this. The biggest challenge with these kind of statements is going to be the field names. As like I mentioned already, a lot of different carriers use their own field names. And so it could be a little challenging to correlate that within a system. But here in this instance, it looks at least somewhat streamlined. Each row is single policy information. Does save a lot of time when it's like this, especially when you're using it in Excel, when you're managing it that way. But when it comes to consolidating a lot of different statements, it can be a little bit challenging. That's why we also have some examples of other types of statements that can come through. Here I have a couple PDF statements that could be potentially be viewed when it comes to carrier statements. This statement we're looking at here is a typical PDF statement we have received, but we've edited it so it's only made up data. Obviously, there's no comment insurance. But what you see here is somewhat still streamlined, right? It's pretty easy to read where the policy information is. But once again, we're back to the issue of having different field names for different information, right? Paid premium on one, the other one might say premium received, that sort of information that can vary. I have another PDF. I don't want to say worst case scenario, but it's not that great, right? It's a lot of this information can be challenging to find. It's hard to figure out where the policy information is. It's embedded in this table with the extra information there. It can just be challenging to take this information and streamline it and reduce it into a format that's usable. Here at Core Commissions, we do offer an industrial converter for some of these statements where we would do that for you for an additional fee. If you have any more information, you can just let us know. We would be happy to talk about that conversion process. But for the time being, we're going to walk through what it looks like to upload this system into Core because we have this great feature we call mapping. So what the mapping does within Core Commission is it takes all the different fields from the different statements and consolidates it into one singular source, right? Instead of having one column that says premium received and another that says target premium, it's all the same one, right? It would all be consolidated into a singular source within Core. I'm going to do that by logging in here. I'm logging in using admin credentials, so we'll be able to see the system from an admin's perspective. Because of that, that means we're going to log in and we're going to upload the data directly in Core. And to do that, I'm going to go navigate to our processing page. The processing page is where we upload data into the system. It's how we consolidate all those multiple streams of carrier statements into one singular data source. In this instance, we call it carrier statements. When I do that, I go to import the file in here, and this is where this mapping shows up. Right, the mapping, we have all these list of carriers available. You could see that's something that we set up within Core. And yeah, it's not just that common insurance, it's all the other ones available too. And it allows us to decide within Core how these get mapped. So that way we can have one singular data source with all the relevant information in there. So I'm now going to pull this data over to upload it into the system. Here we go. Do that. I'm going to also use our common insurance, top of the line business. They're out of this world, but this is going to be the mapping we choose to upload the data into the system. So here we go. We're importing the file, and it's just going to pull this data in, and now we have that in the system. We already have some pre-uploaded carrier statements in here. So when I open up the data source for carrier statements, we're going to have all the ones we already built into the system already uploaded prior to this presentation. But you can see one of the biggest things about the data in here, we can look at the different types, the carrier, all this relevant information. We can see all this useful data. I can scroll all the way to the bottom, and here are those common insurance data documents I just uploaded. But you'll notice there's one thing blatantly missing from this view that's not being assigned correctly, even though we have those carrier statements, and it's going to be the agents and their corresponding rates. So I'm going to pass this back over to Kurt to talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Chris. So the mapping allowed us to take those different names from all the different carrier statements and make them uniform and consistent and display them in an order that we want to see it. And you can change all that anytime. You can drag fields around and save that off so it opens up that way next time. But as Chris mentioned, would you scroll to the left there,
Yeah.
Chris, to show we have all these blanks about who's getting paid and what rate they're getting paid. And the reason for that is you might get one agent on a carrier statement, maybe two, but the carrier really doesn't know who sold that policy, who is an enroller, who is a producer, who was, a marketing support person that might also have earned a commission. They just don't have that information and can't put it on the carrier statement. So what we need to do is we need to create what we call an account assigned table that contains all that information by policy number so that we can then match it to the carrier statements. So Chris, if you can navigate to an example of an account assignment table, the account assignment table is going to contain the fields that are necessary to do a matching with the carrier statements. And so one of those fields, of course, is going to be the name of the carrier. And of course, another field is going to be the policy number. You can put whatever columns you want on here. It could be customer name. But the most important ones you definitely need to have on there are the different agent roles and the rates that they're going to be paid for that policy number. So you might have a different rate for each policy number, and you might have a different agent on each role. Some agents might be an enroller, some might be a producer, some might be a support person. We just put agent one and agent one rate as just kind of dummy data on here. And we have 3 agents in these columns, but you can have as many as you need. We have customers that actually have 8 or 10 agents that get paid on a single policy as it comes through. So what's going to happen is we want to then take this data from this account assign, and we want to put it on the carrier statements. Well, if you're doing that in Excel, you can use VLOOKUPs, and that works, but it's pretty clunky and there's a lot of maintenance to it. Like if your records vary month to month, if one month you have 2,700 records in your carrier statements, and the next month you have 12,000, you got to adjust all the formulas and all that. In our application, all of that is pre-configured, and so we can do it with a pre-built feature in Core with a button click. So Chris, you want to go ahead and show how that works? We're going to go to the run cycle and we're going to execute that. And it's going to then do all that assignment. It's going to merge that data from the account assign table to every single carrier statement on there. And actually, it does a lot more than that as well. It also calculates the commissions, and it also pushes that information to reports and dashboards, but we'll look at that in a minute. So now let's go ahead and open up that account or that carrier statement data source. And you can see this is the same data source. All of those records have been assigned the agent that's specific to that policy number. So it matches on the policy number, and it puts those names and those rates on there for you and then performs the calculations. Now you might notice a couple of gaps here. We have some that don't look like they have any names on them. And that will happen when somebody puts in, miskeys a policy number. How many times have you seen somebody put in a 0 for an O or vice versa, 1 for an I, put an extra space in? Those things can happen in any system. So when that happens, Core has another feature that will pick those up automatically and put them in a special place we call orphaned records. So orphaned records are those policies that from the carrier statements that we want to pay on, but the matching didn't work. And it puts them here for a very good reason. First, the administrator now knows to look at these and compare the carrier statement and the account assigned records. And they can fix it right here in this view. But there's an easier way to fix that we're going to show you in a little bit later. So if we go back to that processing view, we've got all the raw data there that shows how much we're going to pay everybody. But we don't want to send out a file that looks like a big table with records on it. Core has automatically pushed that data to our standardized visualization tools, which includes reports, dashboards, and analytics. Chris, you want to show what those look like?
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to managing the information regarding, the outputs, reports, dashboards, analytics, we have these great views within Core that we can view at any time. We can open up the reports page and open up a detail report that streamlines that information, so we get to see policy information regarding each individual agent and how much they're getting paid on those commissions. Right, it's a great tool. They are completely customizable, so they can be edited. We can add columns, we can take away columns such as that, but we can see exactly the type of information that would be shown here, right? All this relevant information on a policy detail for this agency. Some other reports that we have examples of could be like commission splits by policy. Sometimes it's important to be able to see in one concise view a policy and who's split on that. From an admin's perspective, we can see the relevant information for each customer and that product type. We could drill this down and group it by any factor or any field available in the system as well. So we're able to view this information in a report such as this.
And we can build a report for any kind of data that you have in the system. So if you want to see reports by carrier, or if you want to see reports by some, geographic area or a line of business or different offices, our reports are 100% customizable. And if you have a report that you want us to duplicate, you could send it to us, and we could actually build that report to look exactly like that. And you have the ability to do that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it is one of the challenges of, especially when you're using Excel to manage commissions, to produce all these reports instantaneously and then also segment them out automatically. It can be really challenging, which is why not only can the reps log in to core commissions to view their data, but we can also email out the information to them as well. So we could email out these policies to them, and it automatically segments the reports for them directly. So you don't have to do that. The system does it automatically.
And by segment, you mean each agent will only see their information when
Yeah.
you hit send, correct?
That is exactly right.
So yeah, we don't let any other agents see anybody else's, but they only see the policies they're associated with, the commissions they have earned. Now, the administrator or managers can expand on that. They could see others, but the individual agents, when they get that email, it's only going to have their information.
Yeah, that's right. So one other report that we can take a look at, this one we call carriers totals versus deposited. And this is just making sure that the carriers actually paid our agency what they said they were going to, right? We need to make sure that we track this internally. That way the carriers aren't shortchanging us. They're actually paying out the difference. And so we can tell that from this view in core. That automatically lets us know what the difference could be based on what they said they're going to pay and what they actually deposited into our accounts. So those are some of the reports. The dashboards are also available as an output in core. We have a couple that we can look at as well. The Book of Business Analytics is a great tool to use because it looks at all of the relevant information regarding that book of business and breaks it down into this view here, where we can see the retained policies, we can see the new policies canceled. Then also, once again, we can see the differences between the deposited versus paid commissions from those carriers. It also gives us a breakdown of where that commission comes for the different carriers as well. One other report or dashboard we could look at is the commission breakdown. The commission breakdown dashboard is a great tool if there's any sort of complex commission plans, right? Because it would show the information on that. It would show us where that information is coming from, the data thereof. And also if it is like a tiered rate that we're seeing here in this breakdown, it also shows us that attain amount on a year-to-date basis. Once again, and also on this view as well, we can export any of the tiles here you see. So we're able to export like this grid that shows the carrier statements below for reporting purposes, or we could download the whole dashboard if we wanted to do that as well for our internal purposes.
And dashboards are customizable as well. There's a
Yes.
dashboard designer. All of our designers are drag and drop. So you can create a dashboard just by dragging a kind of panel on. Like here, we have a selector panel, which allows you to click on an agent's name, and all of the data will update according to that particular agent. So what activity they're associated with, how much, how much premium that they've produced, what their tiered rate is, or whatever other information you want displayed here. So it's totally customizable.
Yeah, that's right. And the last one we have to show as far as the dashboards is going to be this line of business breakdown. So the line of business breakdown is a great dashboard because just like a lot of these other outputs, it's taking the information internally and representing it in a unique, customizable way. And in this instance, we're breaking down the line of business to see how much of that revenue is coming in or how much of that commissionable amount is coming in. So we can see just where it gets drilled down to when it comes to the product itself. We can also, just like the other one, we could choose on an agent and it's going to update that information here to show the relevant information for that individual. So we could see a little more nuance for them and how their information is being broken down within core. So this is all like it shows how dynamic these dashboards can be, but something that's also available in core is our date and account selection tool, which allows us to choose any date range we want to get more information regarding those commissions. So we're just currently looking at December, but let's say we want to go through the whole year. We can also verify all the accounts have been selected and below. We do that, we select generate, and now core is going to take all of the carrier statements from the entire year and just like that, upload and update the information we're looking at on this line of business breakdown. This applies to all of our dashboards, all of our reports. So you're able to look at any date range you want with the relevant information and get that nuance and that insight into the company and how the agency is doing and tracking this information. So the last output we have to look at, or we can look at, is going to be this analytics page. And the analytics page is great because the default here is it's going to show exactly what is going to be paid out on a per month basis in just this quick view, right? We can see all of this information. We can see how it not only affects this month, but also how it compares to the previous months throughout the year to give you just synapses into how the chart is trending over time. Right. And we can also go here on the chart below, choose an individual like Benjamin and drill down on where his payments are coming from to see if it lines up with what we expect him to get paid or if it doesn't.
So that first view, Chris, that view right there, that's for
Yes.
all of the agents. And so you can see if you're paying about what you expect to, if it's up a little and you expect to see that, or if it's down. And if you want to drill down further, you can do that by clicking in the lower section.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We can also edit this as well, so we can change the columns, the rows. We can do all that all those changes, and then just save that as an analytic view to take a look at later if we wanted to. So this is all from the admin's perspective, the reports and dashboards. But like I mentioned, we can not only email out these reports, but we can also view core from a rep's perspective as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to alias as a user. So I'm going to click this alias as user button. I'm going to choose Benjamin. And so what we're going to do as an admin is we're going to log in as Benjamin to view core from his perspective, to see how it differs, to see some of the information provided to him, and also just to get more information on an agent's view when it comes to core. So the first thing we'll notice is on the left-hand side, there's a lot less pages for Ben to access. He's really just only limited to what the admin has given him permission to see, but he can still see his commission breakdown. He can see his commissions by carrier, all this useful information. He could even go back to that payment detail that we saw earlier. So instead of having to have it emailed out to him, Ben could log in and immediately see this report, see the commissions he's earning, and see all that relevant information. So we mentioned earlier orphan records and that there's a better way to track the orphan records in core. And that's going to be viewed here on this page for the rep's perspective. So the rep can open up this orphan view record and see all of those listed policies that don't have a home, right? They don't have an agent assigned to them. Like Kurt mentioned, there could be a zero instead of an O or vice versa. And so this is where a rep could come in here, choose one of the relevant rows, and then add himself on the row as that policy owner, save that, and now it's going to be saved internally into core to view later and for the admin to check. So it's just like that. So instead of the admin having to manage everything, including the orphan records, and having to take on the brunt of that responsibility, they can disperse it to the team so the team can go and log in, claim any records they didn't get, because we all know the team members want to get credit for those policies just like anyone else would. So now, after we viewed this from the agent's perspective, let's log back in as an admin so we can view to see if those changes were made within core based on what the rep uploaded. So here we're logging back into core, and once we log in, we're going to navigate to the orphan records view on the admin side to see if Benjamin was added. And sure enough, we see him right there. Benjamin is added. And this is where the admin could approve that add by Benjamin to approve it. And then once that's approved, it gets stationed into core. It gets removed from the orphan records list. And now the commissions get calculated for it using the entire team to solve those orphan records.
All right, thank you, Chris. So I saw a number of the polls come through. Scott, do we want to kind of take some of those polls, or do we have any questions that we can answer at this stage?
Yeah, right now the Q&A is empty, but for sure I'll give you the results of the polls so you can at least get a feel for what everyone is answering. We can start with the first one, and it was what is the most time consuming part of your commission process? And the winner of that category was the generation of reports, which I know you guys touched on in the last segment there. But yeah, definitely generating reports. And then the converting and consolidating carrier statements was number 2. And the other 2 did not have any votes. So those were the top 2 on those for that poll question. And then what is the most time consuming part of your commission? Oh, nope, we already got that. I already repeated that. So how frequently do orphan policies happen in your process? This one was overwhelmingly not often. So that was the answer for everyone on today's. And what reporting tools do you currently use for agent commission reports? And AMS system won on that one. That one was about 50% of the votes. Other was 33%, and then Excel spreadsheet was the rest. Those were the three options that were selected from those questions. So yeah, that was the poll reports.
All right, great. Thank you for that.
Yeah. All right. Did we want, yeah, if there's any questions, guys, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A or the chat. There's not any at the moment, Kurt. So did we want to kick it over to Austin?
I didn't have anything else in particular to share, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, right now there's nothing in the Q&A or the chat that's extra. I can go ahead and also drop the open-ended question again because that one I pulled off short. Let's see here. Yeah, let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and relaunch it. So right here on the screen, guys, you will see how many of your carriers send paper statements or PDF files. I did pull that poll earlier a little bit quick. It is a short answer, open-ended. So we will give a second to do that. And those results won't actually immediately show up. They have to be, I have to go in and get that on the backside. So if anybody did want to chime in into the Q&A or the chat for that, that would be great. We do have a few people answering it. Again, this is the short answer, so it doesn't immediately pop up for me to see the answers on that at the moment. So we'll give another few seconds. Yes, again, so how many of your carriers send paper statements or PDF files? Again, if you guys wanted to also drop that in the chat or the Q&A as well, because I will have to pull these on the back end once we're finished. All right.
So while we're doing that, I do want to make you aware of a special promotion that we're offering to anybody who's on this call or who's a Catalyit subscriber. So if you go to our website, Chris, you want to show our website? If you go to the pricing page, this is corecommissions.com, and then go down to the Quick Start. The Quick Start's a program where we'll use your data, your agents, your roles, your rates, your carrier statements, to load that information into Core and then connect it to the features that we've shown you, as well as other features like calculating more complex commissions as a proof of concept program. So it's one thing to see all of this on a screen, but it's another to actually see it used with your data and how fast it can perform all those functions that you maybe have a lot of manual steps to at the current time. So the Quick Start, what we'll do is we'll give you 10 hours of setup, and we can easily load all your data and connect it to those functions that we've demoed for you today within that time, and have hours left over for some other things like custom reports or some custom calculations that you want to see performed. But that will also give you training on the system, walk you through everything we built, show you how everything works, and then give you 30 days to use it. And you can pull in new carrier statements in the next cycle and run it through and then compare it to what you've calculated in your current methodology and validate that it's doing for you what you want. So normally this Quick Start program is $500, which is pretty heavily discounted by itself. But for a special promotion for attending this webinar and being a Catalyit subscriber, we're offering this for half price if you sign up for that before the end of March. So it's $250. We're going to load all your data in. We're going to really let you try the system out, validate how much time and effort it's going to save you, as well as the efficiency and the accuracy of the information and having all that data in one place.
Awesome. Thanks, Kurt. And I did have a couple questions as well. As far as service goes, I know when someone's looking for any solution provider, especially in the commissions area, once they get, I see a 30-day trial set up, and I'm sure, like it says there's system training from your team. Is there a dedicated specific service member that they will have throughout the process that they can always reach out to, or how does that work on your guys' end?
No, that's a great question. And you will have an implementer assigned to you that will help all that set up and will become expert in your system. And when you need help, we have a trouble ticket system, and you could just submit a trouble ticket, and then it will be picked up by your implementer. But if your implementer is on vacation, the great thing about a trouble ticket system is it would then go to the next person who might have helped with that setup and is also familiar. But any of our implementers can field any kind of technical questions about your specific build. So it's going to definitely go to the implementer that is most familiar with your setup immediately. But if that person's not available, we want to get you help as soon as we can, and it'll go to the next person in the queue.
Excellent. Also, and I know again it says 30-day trial setup. What is the actual onboarding? What's the time frame on that as far as getting this up and them using it with their system?
I'm happy to speak to that one. I would say for most quick starts, we can get that initial build of core kind of set up within a couple weeks, and then we'll kick off the 30-day trial. The quick start program, it covers 10 hours of setup, but typically that doesn't cover all of the implementation. We usually ask that you would use the quick start to give us your most complicated, toughest kind of scenario, just to show that we can do what we say we're doing. And then to fully implement like the full structure that you have, it really varies depending on scope, but I would say most organizations we work with fall in, the 1 to 4 month mark for full implementation. Of course, if you've got a really large scope with a lot of integrations and a number of different agent groups that you need to pay out with different compensation structures, that can take a little bit longer. But yeah, it varies.
Okay, excellent. And I did want to kind of circle back, especially from your experience, whether Austin or Chris or Kurt, whoever wants to grab this, but what from all the agencies that you've worked with, again, in the past, I think Kurt, you said maybe 20 years of core commissions. What is the biggest thing they are seeing relief from when they come on with you guys?
We're having a little bit of audio problems here, so
Oh, can
Austin,
you hear me?
I can hear
I'm
you.
gonna log off on mine. I'll still be on Chris's. I think that might save some internet.
I can fill that question.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Austin.
thank you.
Yeah, there's a few different things that we see relief from. I will say that automating the reports is one of the big ones.
Yeah.
It's something we can set up pretty quickly. We've got stock reports that we have available out of the box. We've got a report library available to us. And so pretty quick to set up. And then the nice thing in Core is that once you have imported your data into the system and hit the run cycle button, that data is immediately available for your reports and your end users to access. So there's no additional setup you have to do at that point. I'll also say some other pain points that we try to solve are data integrations. We integrate with a number of large ERPs and CRMs and accounting systems. And so having that set up in Core makes it easy to pull data into the system either with a click of a button or on a schedule. So that's another pain point that we try to solve.
Awesome. And I'm glad you brought up integrations. So do you guys, is it like an open API type deal? Like you're pretty open to kind of figuring out and working with different CRMs or systems, or are there a specific set that you have that you do work with at the
Yeah,
moment?
we do have an open API that's publicly accessible, and then we also can integrate with any organization that does have a public API. We've got a number that we've already got pre-configured and that are pretty easy to set up out of the box with some of your larger players like Salesforce, QuickBooks, things like that.
Right.
But yeah, we can also pull in data via SFTP, and we've got a few different ways to pull information.
Excellent. All right, perfect. Yeah, so Kurt, if you wanted to go ahead, if you wanted to give like a high level, and I know you guys have talked about how every which way that core commissions can help these agencies and help them from day one, but if you just wanted to hit it one more time at a high level as to why these agencies should come to core commissions.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of manual steps in an incentive program as there's so much data coming from different sources and different moving parts. And so our application is very customizable through every aspect. So for example, if you're looking at the view we're looking at now, the processing view, in the upper panel is where we pull in data from core, and that can be from any number of sources. We have some very large customers that pull in 200 different data sources from, maybe they have multiple branch offices that they have to pull data from, as well as from some big ERPs or big AMS applications. And so we can pull in all of that data and store it here. In fact, for our larger customers, we can put that on a schedule to where core will execute a task nightly. And that typically is in off hours like 10 p.m. or midnight or something, where people are out of systems, but it will go out to each data source regardless of how many you have. And it can even pick up an Excel file in a Dropbox folder, import all of that data in automatically. Now, that's in the upper panel where we're bringing in the raw data. But in the lower panel, when you want to expand out one of those plans, we have rules that are going to take that data that we've pulled in from above, and those rules are going to actually perform the data management steps to create the output you need automatically. So for a lot of our customers, Core not only ingests the data every night on a schedule without you even being in the system, it then runs that data through all of these rules. And if you wanted to do that manually, you just click the run cycle button over to the right of the page, which when you click that run cycle button, it performs all of the calculations. It pushes that data to the reports like we mentioned before. It does the account assignment, it does all of those data management functions. And then it also can publish it to the web reporting. So agents can log in the next morning and they can see the new activity that's come through the day before, and they can go ahead and cancel that. And they can then submit a question to the administrator if they have a question on a policy or something like that. So Core can be automated to the point where all of that runs in the background on a daily basis. And all the administrator needs to do is, look for trouble spots. Did some updates to the data come in after it was exported? So you want to do a re-import and reprocess. But it takes all those manual steps out. And then again, all that data across time is stored in the system itself. So if you have a legal issue and you need to look back at a transaction that was paid 7 months prior, you can just go up to the period that was paid in this section here, pick the cycle that was paid in, search for that record, look at the actual calculation, and then respond to anything you want. So it not only helps you in automating the process itself and saving a lot of manual steps, it takes the error out of those manual steps, and it gives you all of that data across time to be able to display in reports or doc reporting for whatever comes up.
Excellent. Thanks, Kurt, for that. And of course, I know today everyone's huge deal is just to save time. And with that overnight automation, I know that would be huge for a ton of agencies, especially the ones that are doing it all manual today. So yeah, well, guys, yeah, if you have anything else, Kurt or Chris or Austin to add, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out.
No, I think we're good. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and thank you, Scott.
Awesome. So I'm gonna share on my screen real quick. Let me replace that share for you guys. And there we go. All right, you guys should see that now. So again, thank you, Kurt, Chris, and Austin, and to the entire Core Commissions team for a fantastic discussion today. And of course, thank you to everyone who joined us. We know how busy that your agencies and teams are, and we truly appreciate you spending part of your afternoon with us. As a reminder, today's recording will be available within 24 hours inside of Catalyt's on-demand video vault at catalyt.com. So feel free to rewatch it, share it with your team. And before you leave, please take a moment to complete our short 3-question survey. Your feedback helps us shape future Catalyt Live sessions and can also indicate if you'd like to be connected directly with the Core Commissions team. And if you'd like more information or want to follow up after today's session, you can reach out to the Core team at info@corecommissions.com. And that contact information is available also on the closing slide that you guys see on the screen there. And if there's anything that Catalyt can do to support you guys for you or your agency, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at any time at hello@catalyt.com. And thanks again for joining us today. And we hope to see you at another Catalyt Live event very soon. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.